Is it really that hard to be a fluffy animal on the internet? Yes. Yes, it is. Being a furry is a super expensive hobby, although there are some ways to work around it. The furry fandom is heavily money-based. That's obvious. Examples being, getting a fursuit, any kind of art, going to conventions, buying furry merchandise or 3D models, and then extra stuff like VR and full body tracking. The main goal of any furry is to really just own a fursuit. It's everyone's dream ever since they've been in the fandom. I've never really met a furry who didn't want a fursuit. But there's one problem that everybody faces. And yep, it's money. Fursuits can often be super expensive to commission, and I understand why. It's a huge and detailed process to make them, and fursuit makers are really doing God's work. Especially recently, with everything getting more expensive, fursuits have jacked up in price. Now, there are 3 ways to get around this. Number 1, get a partial suit. Number 2, make it yourself. Or number 3, bite the bullet. Partial suits are very common in the fandom, as they serve as a cheaper option to having a full suit. They consist of a head and usually extra parts like paws, feet, or a tail. If you're someone like me who sweats super easily and don't want to be walking around in puddles during a con, I recommend getting a partial. Not only is it cheaper, but it's more convenient. It makes fursuiting a lot more doable and makes traveling a lot easier by not having to pack a full suit. And if you want to get a partial and it's still too expensive, you can always make it yourself. Making a fursuit is a ton of work, and you usually need to somewhat know what you're doing, but also everybody starts somewhere. Who knows? Maybe you making your own suit could lead to you being a real fursuit maker down the road. Making your own fursuit can be a super stressful process. I definitely don't trust myself with making my own. And YouTube is a great place to learn. There are tons of educational videos to help you learn how to make a suit. It's definitely a bit of a learning curve, but it's a great skill to have once you get better. One thing to note before you dive into making your own is understanding the cost of making one. It's definitely cheaper, but there still are a lot of steps to it. You gotta buy fur, sewing supplies, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm just saying, make sure you do a bunch of research before you commit. It's a multi-month process. And last but not least, you can always bite the bullet and just commission a suit. Now, this is the most expensive option, as fursuit makers will usually upcharge their suits because they're a lot more experienced and it's their job. They need to make a living. Fursuit makers are some of the most talented people in the fandom. They help bring us to life. Prices for suits can have a wide range. It's usually based around the quality of the suit and the materials that determine the price. Finding a fursuit maker can be a really daunting task. There are so many fursuit makers out there that have their own styles that they add to their suits. But it's really cool to see everybody's different adaptations and how they make their own suits. It's just that some styles are going to be a little bit more expensive than others. And one thing that you need to justify when getting a suit is, are you going to use it? The main use for many suits is just walking around at cons, and that's a whole nother monetary concern. Don't let your suit just rot away in your room. Show it off at cons. Furry conventions are an amazing place where furries from all over the world get to meet up in one area and really just have a great time and meet other people. Though it can be quite expensive. First off, if the con isn't in your state, that means you gotta buy a plane ticket, and that alone can cost a lot of money. One option is that you could drive to a con, although that can still be pretty expensive to pay for gas, and it may also take a bit longer to get to the con. After the plane ticket, the next thing to figure out is rooming. Hotel rooms ain't cheap. A great option is to find friends to room with. It'll help keep the cost of the hotel room down if multiple people are paying for it. Usually hotels will jack up their prices when cons come around, so either book it early if the hotel allows that, or find a neighboring hotel nearby to stay at. And once you get the 2 biggest expenses out of the way, now it's time for the little ones, like con registration, food for the weekend, drinks, and the dealer's den. Oh God, the dealer's den. This is where your funds will be sucked dry. So many booths and so many options. Many fall victim to spending more than they thought they would, and it can leave a big hole in your wallet. Overall, cons can be another expensive part of the fandom. As a broke college student, I can really only afford to go to 1 or maybe 2 a year. It sucks. You really need to have a stable job in the fandom to be a full-time furry. And with that comes furry art. There are tons of furry artists in the fandom who make a hefty amount of money. So if you're looking to make a good amount of money, also while improving your art skills, try to learn to make furry art. Making art yourself already saves you a ton of money, but there are so many cool artists out there in the fandom with different styles, and so it's hard not to want to commission someone else. The base part of the fandom is having a ref sheet, and if you want a nice one from an experienced artist, it can cost upwards of $100 plus just to have a ref sheet alone. And after that comes getting other art commissions to really have your sona come to life. That'll definitely cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get stuff like stickers, profile pictures, full portraits, and if you're freaky, the most expensive type of artwork, NSFW artwork. Listen, people, if you want to make the big bucks, that's the path you want to take. The horn dogs will pay. It's annoying to see how expensive most art is nowadays, though it's reasonable. I love supporting local artists, but I really just wish I had the money to do so. It's hard to justify spending $100 on one piece of art. Like, that's a week worth of groceries, not even. So, no food for a week or a full body commission. Side note, please, for the love of God, don't make AI media. I understand you're a broke bitch, and it's the cheapskate way to have art of your persona, but in no means is it morally correct. Although I have a whole nother video talking about AI media in the fandom, so I won't get into detail. Go check it out. A good idea is to save a bit of money over time to get art from artists you really like. They'll make the purchase a lot more meaningful. And there are tons of undiscovered artists in the fandom that do commissions for super cheap. Don't always go for the big guys. They know they're wanted, so they can jack up the prices. Power to them. Probably the most popular way to interact with the fandom is VR. Though it's a bit pricey in some areas. VRChat is the main hub for all VR interaction. And to be able to join in on the fun, you need a few things. And the main thing you need is a VR headset. And these can go from around $100 to $1,000 plus. You just gotta look in the right place. I've lived off buying pre-owned headsets on eBay throughout my VR career, and it saved me a ton of money. Though, if you want to be on the safe side and get a new one. Some of the headsets I've gotten have required a bit of fixing up and aren't in the best quality. Once you have the VR, you're ready to play. Although there are some accessories that people like to get. Like, if you want to be able to move your legs in VR, you're going to need to get full body tracking, and there are multiple options when it comes to this. And the most well-known one being HTC Vive trackers, which are usually $1,020 for a tracker. You need around 3 to get the full body tracking experience. And it only works with some headsets. So do your research before buying one and make sure it's compatible with your headset. A cheaper option that I've been using personally is Slime VR. To have base tracking, it costs around $200, and they have a fantastic battery life unlike HTC Vive trackers. Slime VR trackers last up to 15 hours each. I use them myself, and they're pretty good for the price. They're not the best tracking, but they'll get you by. And now other accessories can be eye tracking and mouth tracking, but that's more on the expensive side, and we don't need to get into it. So let's say you have your VR, and you're ready to get into VR chat. But oh no, what's that? You don't have a custom model to be yourself. That's fine. VR chat has a wide variety of models for public use. You may not be able to be your exact self, but you can still look cool. Although, if you want to be your actual persona, that requires a bit of money. You need to buy the base for whatever model you want, and then texture it. Models themselves usually aren't too expensive, and maybe up to around $50, but texturing is the hard part. It requires you to learn Unity or Blender, and also requires a bit of art skills to make it look like you. Or, you can hire someone who does texture commissions for a job, like my friend here. You should go commission them. Being a VR furry is a bit expensive in the beginning, but once you have everything you need, you really don't need to worry about any more costs. It's smooth sailing. Overall, being a furry is expensive, but there are workarounds. You just gotta do a bit of searching. And in total, you really don't need to have anything at all of what I just said to be a furry. You can be a furry with nothing and still be part of the fandom, but buying stuff like art just helps you express yourself. And so what's the moral of the video? Get a job. Or don't, I don't care. Thank you guys for watching this video. I had a ton of fun doing this one, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you did, like and subscribe. You totally should. I'm just saying. Who said? And thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.